Well, the great thing about this story is that we're dealing with Connor MacLeod, who we as the film audience know from the first and second and third Highlanders. And then we're integrating Duncan MacLeod from the television series, who is from the same clan. In the beginning, as we open up, we get these characters together for the first time in quite some time, and yet we find out that there's a problem, but we're not quite sure exactly what the problem is.
People change.
As we go through the story, our heroes learn that there are some obstacles that are insurmountable.
We all know each other from the past. And Connor's relationship with me is he found me many, many moons ago in the Highlands of Scotland when I was just like this barbaric fighter.
I'm Connor MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod.
Connor MacLeod?
And like you, my friend, I have a hard time dying.
Who had been thrown out of his village because they found out he was immortal, but still he tried to fight with the clans. And we see the growth of their relationship between becoming a tutor pupil and then becoming more like brothers and friends and then becoming more like equals in the present day. And I think that's kind of the interesting part of this story is that relationship that we see grow throughout the movie.
The television series was shown in over 100 countries, developing its own fan base. Adrian Paul became known worldwide as a major television star, known in his world as the Highlander. You had Christopher Lambert coming from the feature side as the Highlander. It's always been our dream to bring them together into a feature.
The producers sent me a script. I read it. I liked it because it was, I mean, for me, I had the feeling that it was a different kind of action movie, much more romantic, much more focused on the inside of a character being immortal. Obviously, a lot of action and optical special effects and stuff like that, but also something a little deeper about the joys and the pains of immortality.
Sequels are a challenge in themselves in that people come in with preconceived notions. I think the fun thing for me as a filmmaker is that I get to challenge the audience. You know, they come in and they can now be an active participant in the film as opposed to just sitting back and having the experience come to them. You know, they know the characters, they know a lot about their past, their present, where they've come from, who they've been engaged with, not only from the TV series, but also from the films. So now what they can do is they can look back, and we're gonna add some few little nuances here and there that'll actually sort of tease the minds of the people that know about it. But the other thing that's important, I think, that we've always spoken about in a sequel is that anybody who's never seen Highlander before should be able to come into the theater, sit down, and enjoy and understand the film as though it stood by itself. And I think we've really done that with this film and this story.
I think the core story of Highlander is you have a group of rare people that have a certain quality, and they have this seed of immortality in them. And the issues of how you deal with an extended life, how you deal with the inability to establish relationships that will last the same length of time as your lifespan, the inability to have a normal family life, that you have to separate yourself apart from the rest of mankind and establish your own rules of life and living.
This is your first directing experience.
It is.
How's it been? What do you think?
Well, it's just been, I mean, it's a dream come true. Yes. And he breaks through. The same shot we'll do with Connor.
He's got something that I really appreciate in a, quote, action director.
Oh, playback. Great, yeah. Did the car go off? Yeah. How was that for you, Ox?
He's got great moves, he's got great angles, but he's also a very good actor's director.
Why don't you two guys be over here underneath, and you two guys will be from back here.
He is very clever. His indications are very smart.
Close is close, and it's good until he goes out as far as we can carry him. When they walk up from there, need to all be single file like this.
It's not often that an action director is also a good actor's director, and he's got both. So it's really a pleasure, and he's somebody very focused, very calm, which is very important, especially on a movie like this one, and he's very smart. So it's just a pleasure to communicate. You want to give him more because of that.
Connor MacLeod, as they say, was born on the shores of Loch Shield in 1536.
Duncan was born in, well, he met Connor on the battlefields of in Scotland, and he became his pupil.
He's like a big brother. He's somebody, first of all, who's telling him, you are immortal. And the guy's looking at him saying, what are you talking about? I mean, I can't be immortal. He said, yes, you are immortal. I'm going to show you.
Connor was his mentor, but the relationship went through a really interesting change, which I think you'll see in this movie, which is that it went from pupil to friend to brother to mentor, father. It expanded, or it spanned a very large number of relationships in a way, and we get to the present, and it's almost as if they've both become as equal, and they're very good friends now. They're close friends, closer than probably anybody else has ever been, because they've known each other for 300 years.
I believe the relationship that Connor had with Ramirez, Sean Connery, was more like a father and son. I think here it's like there are two brothers, and it was attractive to be the quote mentor, to be the guy who is teaching him how to play with a sword, who is telling him what the dangers are, exactly what Sean was doing with me, but more on a buddy-buddy level instead of a father-son relationship.
Chris and I worked together on the series, and we had a great time then, and I've seen Christopher since, and we're kind of friends, and we kind of have the same take on life in a way. It's very funny, and in the film, I think that comes across because there's certain things you do by osmosis. You know, I mean, you both think of something at the same time, and when that happens on screen, that's a golden moment when that happens. And there are certain moments in the movie, you know, they may not be in the final cut, I don't know, but that still goes over to the actual relationship itself, that we were able to continue what our relationship was off screen as to what it was on screen.
I think it's a story of ultimate sacrifice, of brother for brother. And the relationship between Duncan MacLeod and Connor MacLeod is so strong, and the sacrifice that is involved in that has some very surprising twists.
I think what he's up to in this story is to try and find redemption. I think that's the whole thing of this story. I think it's the story of trying to save his friend, trying to save his morals, and repay something he wasn't able to repay in the past. Something happened to him in the past that unfortunately he chose to do, and it was a wrong choice, and he understands that it was a wrong choice, and now he has to face that fact. And at the same time, his friend Connor MacLeod is faced with the same problem in a greater way, and he's trying to help his friend realize what it is what life is all about. And we see the difference of how Connor MacLeod deals with the same problem, and that's where you have the difference between the two characters.
At the end, there can be only one. So, and that's exactly what was happening in #1 and in the other Highlander.
Duncan MacLeod's role has changed over the years. What he saw his role to be has changed from when he was a young Scotsman in the Highlands of Scotland. What he believed there was he was a man that had to fight for his clan and had to be there, and then turned to him being a guy that fought for things that were just, and then he fought for people who would pay the right amount of money. Then he thought, maybe that's not a good idea, and his role was basically to try and help other people with what he could do. Then he realized that he didn't want to do that either. He thought that there's too much killing and too much death in this world, so he decided to live more of a peaceful life, and realized that he couldn't do that. So his role changed again, and in the 20th century, he became a man who was more resigned to who he was and what his goal was. But he again changed during the series. In the past 6 years, he went through a change where he became more of a man that wasn't as aggressive. He became a little bit more internal and Zen-like, if you like.
Duncan MacLeod is a seeker of knowledge. He's somebody who was given immortality and has really, learned to embrace it through the years. I think he's sort of evolved as a character, maybe somebody who was a little rougher around the edges in his younger years. And as he's gone on and on, not that he's aged, but he's certainly matured, both spiritually and emotionally.
Duncan MacLeod is an immortal who's lived 400 years. And he's been trying to find the question as to why he exists, I think. His choice in this life, I think he's found now, is that he has a choice of deciding what is right and wrong and how he wants to lead his life, and I think that's what he wants to teach other people.
Most action movies are just action, but great action movies concentrate on the characters, concentrate on a feeling, and not just go over these feelings just for the benefit of the action. And I believe Highlander is one of these movies.
Well, what's unique about it is that, Highlander and the characters who play these immortals, Christopher Lambert and Adrian Paul, they basically get to live out the fantasies that we, the audience, being mortals, dream about, talk about, wonder about. What would it be like to live 200 years ago, or in 200 years to still be alive? These guys actually go through that, and we get to actually sit back, get taken out of our lives for 2 hours, and travel through time with them. And the stories are fantastic. They're not only action stories, they're love stories, they're fantasies, and there's quite a bit of action thrown in the mix for all that. So I think it's got something for everybody.
I remember when number one opened and became gradually this cult movie, you had the action fans, but you had also a lot of women saying, yeah, but I mean, must be so difficult and so painful and so lonely to be immortal. And that's what made the difference, is that it's not only the boys crowd, it's a combination of an overall crowd who like to see Highlander.
It's a really fun form of escapism. It's something that is not remotely real, not remotely in reality, and I just think that people want to be able to escape, and so they latched on to this. It's just got such a great, I think sci-fi films tend to create more of a cult thing anyway. Because of course romantic comedies aren't really cult followings and stuff. I don't know, I just think it's it's just one of those good stories that has come up in this movie that people want to know what's happening next. And of course, because they are immortals, you have to know what's happening next, because of course you think that they never die, so there's always another story.
When your life spans hundreds of centuries, there are things that we take in our lives as a normal arc and deal with it, that these people cannot take.
As an immortal, you constantly are faced with the fact that friends of yours are going to die. As an immortal, you basically, to become immortal, you can only become immortal with a violent death. If you just grow old and die, your immortality gene, if you like, will just disappear. Once you become immortal, the only way you can die is by a violent death. And your entire life is around friends of yours that will possibly die either a violent death or die before you growing old. So it's kind of a lonely existence in a way.
That's also what made this character attractive to people, is you need this tremendous power to say, let's not give up, let's go for it, something better is going to happen.
I guess you could look at it as a tragedy, but then I think that our characters, being the heroes that they are, sort of overcome adversity at times. And sure, there are tragic moments within their lives, but they know that they're going to go on. And I think that's what drives them to get up every morning and to, keep moving forward. So tragedy only in the sense that, each day could be tragic for each individual, but these characters know that there's always tomorrow. So tragedy can be overcome.
And I think you just are dealing with issues on such a different level. And it's not this concept of this battle down through the ages of this special group of men, and it's just one part of the story of Highlander. To me, the greater issues are how they deal with the fact that they have almost this curse of immortality.
I believe it's the closest one to #1 because the writers and producers went back. They understood the importance of going back to this reflection about immortality. This, the need of having people and immortals thinking about the pain and the joy of being an immortal, and not just doing, you know, big fights and stuff like that. We have that, it's a given. Highlander is about sword fighting, martial arts, special effects, opticals, but you also want to see the pain and the joy of the people living this immortality factor.
Somebody asked me, would I like to be immortal? Let me think about that now. No.
I think some people probably would like living forever, but I mean, if you try and search for further meaning about life and why we are here, I don't think you're ever going to find that by living forever. I think in order to find out some of the answers as to why we're here, why did God create us, and what it's all about is actually in the dying process, or at least I hope so. Otherwise, I mean, God, what is it all about, you know?
I definitely see it as a tragedy. The fact that you cannot establish a relationship with a woman and be able to live a normal life, to grow old with a woman and have that woman be at your side throughout your life, and to be able to have children, which are the greatest things that we as mortals have, the ability to have a family life, to have children, to see them grow up.
But I want a chance to make it right.
You want to make it right? Then give me back the ability to have children. To grow old with the man I love. How about anything that resembles a normal life?
I think that is an immense tragedy.
In some ways, you have to forget about the past. You have to live in the present. And if you are really an immortal, that's what you have to do for sure, because otherwise you're dead.
Well, you know, the game is sort of an ambiguous war, if you will. You know, it's, I mean, if you look at immortals as rivals, which in truth they are, they're always looking for the next battle in and amongst this bigger war. And, you know, to stay alive, you've got to stay alert. And at any given point, at any given day, you could be a man on the street, but the next guy coming around the corner could be somebody who's looking for you. So the game is an ongoing process, and there is no true definition to it, because for 100 years, the game may be stagnant, but then in the turn of a dime, all of a sudden, there you are, and the game could be on. So you really have to be, as a Highlander character, on your toes at all times.
If you ask yourself the question, how would it be to be immortal? You got some great sides, seeing the world centuries after centuries, but you also have some terribly painful side, because all your friends, all your lovers, all the people, the family, whatever, you see them die one after the other. And so how long can you stand that kind of pain?
Christopher Lambert is such a sweetheart, and so is Adrian. But, you know, someone like Christopher, for instance, who's had such a long career, and he was very welcoming, very warm. Adrian was someone who is very serious about this character because he's lived it for 6 years. You know, I mean, if there was anyone, if you had any doubts about how you should be behaving in some sort of way as an immortal, or, you know, well, why would I do this, or how do I get to there? He knew every fact and detail to get you there. I mean, he was great motivation to play any character in the film, because he really knew it so well.
I mean, I've always asked, where do immortals come from? I mean, why are certain animals born? Why are certain species created? You know, you suddenly have dogs that look one way and dogs that look another because they live in a certain area. I can't understand. Maybe we're an aberration of nature, which the Watchers which are in this movie, happen to think we are. Some of them think we're an aberration of nature. I tend to disagree with them in that respect. But yeah, I think, you know, we just happen to be. I don't know whether we are going to constantly be recreated, because in the end,
There can only be one, or there
can be only one.
only can be one. And then I kept on getting it wrong the whole time. He was just going, don't get it wrong, Lisa. It's very important.
I think the idea of becoming only one, for me, personally, what I got out of the first movie was that once you are the only one, all the essence and the knowledge of everybody else that you've had will allow you to understand all other living things around you. It will allow you to have the ability to understand the pain, the suffering, the joy, and the pleasure of everything, and possibly be able to solve answers that a lot of other people would never be able to do.
Oh, my love interest. My love interest. My love interest is played by Lisa Barbusha. Lisa plays Faith, or Kate, as I used to know her, and I keep calling her Kate because that's how Duncan MacLeod knows her as Kate, and I refuse to call her Faith. She is the only woman that I actually married, and it was for one night. And I know, it's just like the 20th century. It was just one night, and...
Kate, who was Faith in the 17th century, I should say Kate was first and then came Faith. She was just in love with Duncan, and they got married, and she was a softer person. She was a seamstress, and she was very much a lady, and then she got betrayed by him.
The story with Kate, or Faith, as she's known in the present day, is one where Conor and I actually met her many, many years ago, and we also showed that she was an unborn immortal at that particular point in time when we first met her.
Kate is this lovely Irish seamstress from the 1700s, and who, although she's lovely and sweet, she also has an edge to her, and she's very witty, and she gets made into an immortal without her, she doesn't willingly want to be an immortal, but in this film she marries Adrian Paul's character, and he and Christopher Lambert realize that I'm one of them, that I have the ability to become an immortal.
But she is one of the loves of my life. And what I believe this movie to be is in one word, is redemption. And I think the relationship I have with her is my problem that I had to deal with, something that I did in the past that caused me to try and solve, and that's one of the beauties of immortality, is that I have eternity in a way to be able to resolve the things that I did wrong, or we have the ability to resolve the things that we did wrong. So now I'm trying to do that in this movie. I'm trying to resolve that with her.
You then see me 300 years later, and I've just carried on all this bitterness and anger because it's something that I never wanted, and it's just like another day in this world. I never wanted to be an immortal, and life for me is just become so mundane and so boring and so nothing, you know. So as an immortal, it's a struggle to keep life interesting, and also, of course, everyone you become fond of and have a relationship with and fall in love with grows old and dies around you, and so you kind of feel like you're very alone in the world as an immortal.
She comes back to seek a resolution to that, and I have to deal with that. It's basically facing my demons. Duncan MacLeod has to face his demons in this relationship, and it's basically love lost, and we're trying to rekindle that love again. And I think it's very heartfelt and heart-rendering.
He has followed her through the years but never approached her, and she kind of knows that, and she even hates him more for that. But when she sees him, she realizes that she really does love him deep down inside, and she so desperately wants him to just come forward and just say sorry, you know, and make amends. But he's just been so afraid to do that. He hasn't had the courage to do that, and he eventually will. Adrian's been wonderful with helping develop the story, because he's done the series for 6 years, I think it is, and he just knows it inside and out. It's amazing, because you know, this is my first Highlander movie, so I kind of only know vaguely bits about it, and every scene he can tell you anything about why this would have happened because of something that has happened in his past. I think a lot of attention has been paid into this movie to make sure that that the audience will understand what motivated what happens in each scene.
Lisa, I mean, I'd never worked with before. She is out of England, and she's a singer mainly, and she's acted, and we had a good time. She was very, what's the word, willing to do different stuff, to learn different stuff, and it was hard because the script kept getting changed, and we would work on stuff and try and get things so that it would make sense, and so that our relationship, because our relationship is important in this movie, to the fact that it is part of my past and my problem, that our link from the past to the present has to be clear to people so they understand why this relationship is what it is now and where it came from. So we worked hard on doing that, and you know, we had a great time working together because you know, it was a lot of fun in that respect.
We had a lot of fun doing. I love making scenes, rolling around. It was fun. For the first hour, you're like really self-conscious because you're taking off your clothes and there are a few people on the set, and after a while you just kind of forget. It's like when you go on the beach, isn't it? You sort of first stripping down and you're looking if anyone's looking at you, and then after, you know, after the first hour you're running around on the beach half naked. So I don't have a problem with it. In fact, it was really funny because Adrian said, he goes, I could tell you've been living in Europe a long time even though you're American, because I had no problem being topless, where a lot of...
The way I look at it is I'm a 17th century biker. I prey on the hapless and take their money. I'm a thief. We're here in the makeup trailer on the set of Highlander, World Without End, and this is my good friend Daniel, who's about to make me even more uglier than usual.
He's awesome. I saw him pick up a tree the other day and throw it 250 yards. It was amazing.
Just have to touch up Adam's teeth here, dry them out a bit. They look absolutely disgusting.
Well, you know, the Edge is great because he is so athletically inclined right off the bat. So we can give him anything to do. He picked up swordplay in a day. He picked up all the stunt stuff in one day. He just brings so much athleticism in that he basically is like working with a stuntman who's already an actor, or an actor who's already a stuntman. So he's like, it's a full package.
This stuff is a type of tooth enamel I make myself. And it's just to make the teeth look old and worn out. Because Adam here is playing a bandit. And he doesn't do much about cleaning his teeth, really. There we go, that's horrible.
How's it taste?
Horrible.
He has such a presence, and being in front of an audience every night, I mean, this is like, for him, it's like being in front of an audience. He just took to it and ran with it. All he had to know was where the camera was, and he was ready to go.
Oh, coming up with some really good textured stuff to make him feel like he'd been hanging out in the woods for a while and stealing this coat from somebody and this from somebody else.
It's all stolen?
It's all stolen. It's all stolen.
He picks this huge rock up over his head and tosses it at him. And only he can do that because he's the Edge.
Oh, dear.
Oh, looks heavy, huh?
Continue. Right away, guys, right away.
I'm Jonathan Carlson. I'm the production designer on Highlander 4, and down here is a movie rock that we just finished making. It's made out of styrofoam and plaster, and we put some fake moss on it. And as you can see, it's very heavy. And just wanted to give it to our friend here and let him take care of it.
Well, it goes up easier than Bradshaw and Farouk, that's for sure. Hope you guys are watching, but this is it. So eventually I end up throwing this on someone's head, or just about anyway. It's good fun. You want it? Here.
Camera.
And set.
Whoa!
No, if it wasn't there on the show.
I think my opinion, and I'm putting this on record, I think this is going to be the best Highlander movie you've ever seen.
Could you explain to me what the role of your posse is, the posse in the film?
That's it. I was hoping you could tell me that, actually. I'm just kidding, Chris.
Natasha, I can see your pen or your paper. Whatever it is, whatever you're doing, I can still see it. I'm terribly sorry, Natasha, I can still see it. Thanks very much. Yes.
John set?
Set.
Alex set?
Set.
Get up!
Yes, yes, good, Mom.
Nice. Here we are. Both immortal. Sorry, I'm farting. I can't do this.
And finally, can you tell me what...
SP40 for sunblock. And, you know, the ultraviolet is quite intense, you know, but we have pina coladas and deck chairs. As you can see, it's splendid. This is actually a spa that we all come to just for relaxation between prayers.
Not where I'm eating.
Do you see this as an extension of the features or an extension of the TV show?
I think...
Would you love it here?
No.
And that'll be $7, please.
Well, there's a lot of sword fighting in this movie.
I want you to think back to this moment caught in the endless night ahead!
A lot of different sword styles. I think it's going to be very interesting because we've also used not only swords, we've used different weapons from different countries, such as India, China, America, Japan. I mean, we have a lot of different weapons that have different techniques to them. That's how immortals defeat each other, is by cutting each other's heads off. Not a pleasant way to go.
Hi, I'm F. Braun McCash. I'm the sword master for this film and was the sword master for 4 years of the television series. Basically, the job that I do is choreograph all of the fights that involve bladed weapons, teach the actors how to execute the fights, then help supervise the filming of them. What we were just doing with Edge was walking through at about half speed the sword fight that he's going to be doing with Christophe Lambert.
There's a bunch of different maneuvers that I still don't really know all the names of, but I know I parried once. And it's one of those things where at first, the first time you do it each day, you're not as aggressive as by the end of the day, you're just going pretty much full steam ahead. So that time we did it, and it was the first walk through the day, and it's remembering all the movements. There's so many different movements. It's hard to remember, and plus too, you're almost afraid that you're going to actually deck somebody with it, but it's fun.
Also very precise, so that when a blow is supposed to come for the shoulder or the hip, that it comes consistently to the shoulder and the hip all the time, so the actor defending doesn't have to hunt for it with the parry.
We just did some basic movements to the shoulder, make sure your wrist is straight. There's so many different things that go into it, which I didn't realize. And a lot of it has to do with the wrist and the elbow. You try not to use your shoulder too much. But I'm still definitely an amateur at it, but F helped me out quite a bit.
Edge is very adept. He's obviously used to learning physical action and handles it quite well for a person who's never touched a sword before. Haven't had a chance to work with him a lot, but every time I do, he shows noted improvement and picks up things very, very quickly. When we actually do this fight, obviously, the moves have got to be subconscious. You can't be thinking of what move you're going to do next, because if you are, you can't free yourself as an actor to react to the situation. So it has to be sort of consigned to muscle memory, and that means rehearsing the fight dozens and dozens and dozens of times and building up the speed very, very gradually.
Basically, I'm training, 10 to 12 weeks before the movie, and I'm training on specific moves. It's like when you rehearse the sword fights, you have a routine, and you have to train and train and train till this routine becomes automatic, because you have to forget about it so you can make it believable.
Christophe Lambert is wonderful. He's a very professional man, very, very careful in what he does, and always open to suggestions, opinions, anything that will make his performance better.
Jump in comes, and you grab his hilt. Sit back, sit back. There you go, there you go.
Adrian Paul I worked with for 4 years when I was the swordmaster for the television series Highlander, and he is, without a doubt, the best stage combat person I've ever worked with.
His hand, and on my hand, you go, really? And on you, you're doing this. Don't have to do, it doesn't matter what you do, you're like this, right? And on his hand, you see me go like this, and he goes, I knock it down, go, boom, he goes, boom, the thing goes to here like this, and he goes, whack, and I go, boom, onto the ground, now pay up, right? I think because the end has to be that. Yeah.
I have yet to find a move that he can't do, regardless of how complex, how fast, how strenuous.
Action!
And it is strenuous because you are doing hours of rehearsal, and then when you're filming sword fights, you're filming them again and again and again. Each take, each little section, each section, large sections as a whole. These guys are in good physical condition too. And of course, just the memory, the ability to learn not just one sword fight, but sometimes to have to keep several sword fights with all of the moves in your head at the same time, because you might be shooting one on Tuesday, Wednesday you're shooting a different fight. So it's very challenging for the actor, and both of these gentlemen more than come up to the challenge.
When the swords are
going down, what you do one like, what you do one of those?
Like here, and we go, oh, exactly, stuff like that. We need these moments.
The interesting thing about the sword work for me, I mean, we were in this particular film, we were very specific as to each single time we picked up a sword and what time period we were in as to the method that we would use it. So you will see we use the weapons differently in different time periods, which goes with whatever that, again, that takes it back to the question before, which is about the past. How was everyday life in the past? Well, that's how they dealt with it. In the present day, when you deal with sword work that, we wanted to create something in the present day, which is more the East meets West type of action stuff. So we would do some stunts and stuff that would be included within the sword work, but were not so far fantasy that made it unbelievable. And I mean, you're dealing with like a lot of effects, explosions and hits and stuff like that. And the swords are metal; they'll bust your skin, and they have.
It does combine a tremendous number of sword styles. First of all, we have historical flashbacks in the 1500s, the 1600s, and the 1700s. These are military weapons from the 1780s. Every different type of sword from history is used in a different way because of the design of its grip, the design of its blade. So no two historical styles are identical. They have things that are superficially similar, but that's all. The main characters also use Japanese swords, the katana, Connor and Duncan MacLeod. So that fighting style is extremely different. They're also 400 years old or more, so that they use styles not only from the East, but from Western Europe, from anywhere they can, because they are centuries old. And we also have martial arts coordinators on this film that do an awful lot of the unarmed combat and choreograph the kung fu and karate style scenes. So we have quite a bit of input, a lot of people working very, very hard to make the actors look good and keep them safe.
Well, the posse really, it's kind of an interesting area in the fact that they are fellow immortals that my character, the way it's written, has, if you were brought along with him almost as a part of his accoutrement, his selective few.
Winston is basically an old slave from Jamaica who has been roaming the earth for over 500 years.
It's like a gang, and it's a fraternity of immortals that do Kel's bidding for him, which is taking heads and doing the dirty work for him.
My character, his name is Jin K. This character actually exists in Chinese history. He was an assassin. He believes the mission for his assassin was to overturn the whole dynasty.
Jin K, who served with the Emperor Qin.
The same man. And this character, Jin K, in the Highlander film is actually doing the same thing. He's trying to kill Kel, the antagonist, Bruce Payne, trying to overturn the dynasty.
Kel's posse consists of 5 guys from different parts of the world. You have Cracker Bob, who's basically from nowhere. You know, you're all American. He could be from Texas, it could be from New York. Just crazy, just out there, you know. You have Damon Dash for Brooklyn. He's plays Carlos. He's basically another loose cannon who's, you know, one of those kind of guys that just hot-tempered. You know, he basically have to keep an eye on him, which I do a lot in the movie before he expires. You have Manny. Manny's from Hawaii. You know, his boys are just basically from every part of the world, because this way he gets to keep an eye on, you know, on everybody. You know, we're not all from the same place, so, you know, we're not liable to double-cross him. You know what I mean? We all want the same thing. We're all going for the same goal. So that's basically his crew, his posse.
In the series, we did martial arts. I mean, I studied martial arts for about 12 years now. My style that I do, which is Hung Gar, I've done for about 8 years. And my teacher, Vernon Rieta, is with me to enhance the style that I already have.
Here. All right, so if I'm like that then the next shot he pulls down here, which I have to do this to, like this. Is that block, and he comes here and I do this.
And on top of that, we also have Donnie Yen, who is a very good martial artist from Hong Kong, who has come in to lend his style and his ideas on shooting a martial art blend. I would like to say we have a blend of East meets West in this movie.
Well, first of all, this is the first English-speaking film for me. I've been doing Hong Kong-style films for the past 17 years, and this is the first film for me. And in the beginning, I find it a little different, you know, the way we work over in Hong Kong as opposed to Hollywood films. The budget is huge difference. We do not have the kind of budget that the average Hollywood films fortunately has.
It's not a Hong Kong style entirely, but it's not a Western movie entirely either. And I think that's kind of what's interesting about it.
I was also hired as the martial art choreographer because of the success of many other Hollywood films where they're putting a certain Hong Kong martial art flavor into the films, or it would eventually gives it a new flavor to the whole picture. And that's exactly what I did with it, trying to collaborate the very Hong Kong martial arts style into the original Highlander.
I never really actually had the chance to show a lot of hand techniques, and we have in this movie Donnie Yen, who is a very good martial artist from Hong Kong. And at the same time, I wanted to increase my hand stuff. So my teacher, Vernon Rieta, came to give me my style that I could use in this movie, and we could incorporate not only just doing hand techniques hand to hand, but also using hand, feet, and weapon at the same time.
Yeah, I'll do this. And he turns this way. And then I should do this, because it's two shots. Right. So unless I'm doing this like this, which is better.
Adrian had studied martial art for at least 11 years, and about eight of that years has been with me, studying a style called Hung Gar or Charlie Fat, and this style is really a Shaolin-based Kung Fu style that has its origination in the Buddhist temple. So by looking at it, it seems like we're looking at violence, but where what stems to be the vital energy is peace and tranquility. It's hard for you to understand that by looking at the weapons that he's swinging around, but the real reality of it is that peace and tranquility to the monks, to body physiology, to the understanding of what makes you work for longevity. If protecting yourself is longevity, by all means, it's a good basis to start from.
I'm a perfectionist, so when I work, regardless of a different environment or different dialogues, or I have different actors which I play against, I try to do the best I can. And as a martial art choreographer, I try to choreograph as best I can and try to bring the experience that I gather for many years working in Hong Kong and trying to incorporate with this whole crew here. I mean, I call the Hong Kong filmmaking very guerrilla filmmaking, so opposed to this is professional.
The idea was also to create a different style for Connor McLeod and Duncan McLeod, so they are like the yin and yang of the Chinese symbol of wholeness. And I think we've created that. I think it's taken a lot of work and a lot of sore shoulders, actually. I think we've created that, and I think it was some of the most exciting fight sequences I've ever been involved in.
Action! And cut.
It takes time to rehearse, it takes time to assimilate, because it has to become automatic, therefore it's less dangerous, and also it looks good. So, you know, I've been doing that now for the fourth time, and not to say I'm used to it, at least I know the process of how to learn the moves and the fights and you know what's around these fights. So it's I'm viewing it like fun more than a challenge.
Action! And cut it!
Yeah, I mean, on this film, I still have a scar on this hand. Bruce Payne got me on this one, and I've been hit several times. I have stitches in a few different places.
Oh, shit. How bad you want? This is fucked up. It's fucked up.
I guess it's part and parcel of what I do, so, and I kind of enjoy it. It's sick, really. It's like being a stuntman. And why do I throw myself off a 6-story building? Because I kind of get the adrenaline rush. Well, I kind of do the same thing when I do Highlander. I enjoy doing sword work, I enjoy action, and I enjoy movement. So that's part of why I guess I got this job.
The reality of any action has to be true to form in order for it to be real.
I'm not the type of person that wants to go out and kick ass, if you like. Can I say ass on TV? But I like it for my own self, my own self-discipline, and for my own protection, if you like.
I come from a dance training. I used to be a ballet dancer when I was younger, so it was quite easy to do some of the fly kicks that I had to do. A lot of the stunt stuff, of course, was done by a stunt double, and it's something that I would never even attempt to do.
Who are they?
Friends. I was just kind of almost like part of the ringleader.
Faith, I told you I look like a fucking orange!
Andrew's the new black, Bob. Trust me.
For me, it was a dream come true because I saw that movie when I was 7. I was a kid, and I remember the first one with Christopher Lambert in the parking lot, and the mood and the soundtrack from Queen. You just can't get away from it. So this, to me, was a dream come true because actually the guy that actually taught me martial arts many years ago said one of his favorite movies was The Highlander. And I said, wow, here is my martial art teacher telling me one of my favorite movies is The Highlander, and I could see a guy like you doing movies like that. And a couple of years down the road, I get this call from Miramax saying, you know, we've seen your stuff in the past, and we think you're a right candidate.
Prendo il panno nero per alzare un po' la... Alex, non la fuma? Sì, non so le...
Hey, Duncan, what's the matter?
The British destroyed the Clan's Corner.
It's a whole new ball game now. Get off!
Who are they?
Friends.
What, it's a team sport now?
What you didn't know? Whole new ball game.
Hey!
Nice bat.
Fire in the hole! Fire in the hole! Action! Action! Action. And cut.
Alright, today we blow up the set. Here we are. We built this set, took us 3 months to build. Now we blow it up. Easy come, easy go. Hollywood. Okay, ready?
Roll camera 1. Camera 2. Camera 3. Camera 4. Camera 5. Camera 6.
Everything rolling. Hear that.
Focus and action!
Merge în continuare, iau și aparat bun. De la mine, boss, iau asta.